My husband cheated on me with my best friend and they dared to ask if I want to be in a throuple when I found out. Fuck 2025. No, seriously, fuck my 2025. If you think your year was bad, buckle up, Buttercup, because mine sure was a special kind of hell designed just for me.
Listen, my name is Elara, 30M. My deepest desire has always been to be a mother. That dream felt within reach when I discovered I was pregnant with twins, 2 little angels growing inside me. But life, as they say, isn't always a dream. Just a few months ago, my world came crashing down. A sudden complication led to an emergency surgery. I lost one of my babies. The grief was indescribable. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Every day was a struggle, physically and emotionally. I clung to the fragile hope that remained. I've never felt so vulnerable, so utterly broken. Yet, slowly, I've started to heal. I have to keep going for my other little angel. But it seems the price for my dream of motherhood wasn't fully paid. Our family's finances started to crumble. My husband Jake, 33, lost his job back in April. Since then, he's just been around the house, a constant, silent presence that feels more like a burden. Meanwhile, I'm working like crazy. 70 hours a week, I'm on my feet constantly without a moment to sit, all for a measly $12 an hour. But I have to do it to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. Honestly, I'm on the verge of collapse, physically and mentally drained. There's no time to breathe, let alone anything else. I thought that Jake would understand, that he'd appreciate my sacrifice, but he didn't. What he did next was more abhorrent than I could have ever imagined.
And then there's Chloe, 31F, my best friend. She was there for me, taking care of me when I was in the hospital. After that, Chloe lost her job too, so she started lingering at our house, claiming she was worried about me and wanted to help with the baby in her free time. And I believed her, especially after everything she'd done for me. By now, you can probably guess what happened next, can't you? But back then, in my exhaustion and vulnerability, I never suspected that her help and concern was just a facade for her truly disgusting intentions. With Chloe constantly around the house, my unemployed husband Jake started laying it on thick. He'd encourage me nonstop, lamenting how hard I was working and promising to pull his weight financially. Yet he never seemed to find a job, always saying he had no luck. Meanwhile, I was taking on extra shifts and hunting for freelance work I could do from home, all to keep money coming in for our baby. Chloe, for her part, was at our house every other day, helping me care for Leo. Or sometimes she'd simply be there, caring for me as I recovered. I truly thought I was blessed, a supportive husband, a devoted best friend. I believed they were both doing everything they could to help me, allowing me to work and heal. During that time, though, the pain of losing my other child was still a constant shadow. I threw myself into work, desperate to escape the emptiness and agony inside. I doubled down on my efforts because I couldn't bear the thought of Leo suffering. I worked myself to exhaustion, frantically trying to earn enough to give my child the best possible life. Gradually, I started to pull away from everyone. My excuse was always the same: too busy, no time. I retreated into a shell of exhaustion and worry. I became completely isolated. My life narrowed down to just Jake, Chloe, and Leo. Yet my gut feeling was still there, whispering to me. No matter how tired or how clouded my judgment was, there were moments when something just felt off. Little giggles from the living room between Jake and Chloe. Or even one day, I saw Chloe wearing one of Jake's oversized t-shirts. When I caught her eye, my friend just said it was convenient to throw on. Does that sound reasonable? I can't believe how blindly I trusted them back then. If only I hadn't been so utterly exhausted that I had ignored it all. If only I had paid more attention then. Perhaps things wouldn't have spiraled out of control the way they did. Life continued in that relentless cycle of work and exhaustion until that fateful night. I remember it vividly. It had been a hellish 12-hour shift. My feet were screaming and my head was spinning. All I wanted was to get home, collapse into a deep sleep, and forget about tomorrow. When I opened the door, a strange silence hung over the house. No sounds from Leo, no kitchen noises, just the faint hum of the TV from the living room and hushed whispers. My heart started to pound erratically. My intuition screamed that something was terribly wrong. I crept forward, and then the scene that greeted my eyes shattered my entire world. Jake and Chloe were on the sofa, my husband and my best friend. They were spooning. Jake's back against Chloe, her arm wrapped around him, her head resting on his shoulder. It was the kind of intimate embrace you'd expect from a couple who had been together for 8 years. There was no way it could have been more intimate or more brazen. The dim light illuminated their faces, and there was no hint of surprise or alarm. In fact, I even saw a look of utter contentment on Chloe's face. My blood ran cold. Everything around me seemed to shift into slow motion. I could hear every frantic beat of my heart thudding as if it wanted to escape my chest. My entire body went numb. My head spun, a wave of dizziness washing over me. I couldn't bear it, but somehow a last shred of reason told me not to make a scene right then. I simply turned around. I needed to get out of there immediately. Each heavy step towards the bathroom was a fresh stab to my heart. I slammed the bathroom door shut. The dry, hollow thud echoed like the closing of a door on my old life. I leaned against it, trying to breathe. My whole body was trembling. I needed to vomit. Right now, the disgust inside me had reached its peak. As I bent over the toilet, my eyes instinctively swept across the hook on the back of the door. And there it was. The red silk nightgown Jake had given me last Valentine's Day. I had worn it on our anniversary. It was mine. I kept it carefully folded in my drawer, perfectly preserved. But now, it was hanging there, neatly, as if it belonged. Why? Because Chloe seemed to have taken ownership of my home, using everything in it as if it were her own. At that thought, I threw up everything left in my stomach. It was the ultimate humiliation. This wasn't just infidelity, it was a blatant provocation. My best friend had trampled all over everything that was mine, my love, the trust I'd placed in them. It was like a declaration, a mockery, that she was here in my very own home using my belongings. And I had been completely oblivious. Tears streamed down my face, mixing with the messy contents of the toilet. I couldn't distinguish between the feeling of revulsion and the crushing pain anymore. Then, I heard hushed whispers outside the door. They were discussing something. A knock sounded. They spoke softly, asking if I was okay, but to my ears, it was nothing but pure fakery. Their sheer audacity made me scream with all the remaining strength I had. "Of course not, you bastards!" They had just committed that disgusting act, and now they were asking if I was okay? My blood boiled. I stood up, trembling, tears still streaming. My scream was met with a prolonged silence. Then I heard Jake sigh. "All right, yes, we didn't want you to find out like this." His voice was unnervingly calm. "But we've been together since July." A relationship. Even as I stood there, reeling and throwing up, having just uncovered the most disgusting betrayal of my life, that one word was all I could hear. It echoed in my head, a cursed mantra. To hear him use that word, my ears went deaf to anything else. This wasn't a one-night stand. It wasn't a momentary lapse. They were confessing to having a relationship that had been going on since July of last year. Nearly a year. While I was grappling with the pain of losing a child, when I was at my weakest, when I was working myself to the bone day and night to provide for this family, they were secretly carrying on behind my back? They were living like carefree teenagers, enjoying a rosy relationship without even bothering to earn their own keep? I clenched my fists, my nails almost digging into my skin. The feeling of being deceived, of having everything sacred trampled upon, suddenly overwhelmed me. This wasn't just simple betrayal, it was a meticulously planned, cold, and cruel theatrical performance. I stood there, stunned, like a stone statue, my body numb. Then I heard Chloe, my damned best friend, speak. "So, what do you think?" Chloe asked, her voice still as calm as if we were discussing dinner plans. I couldn't even process what she was saying. My head was spinning. Think what?
I mumbled weakly, and then Chloe spelled it out. The thing that to this day I still find the most revolting. She said, her voice utterly devoid of emotion, "We've talked a lot about this. We both love him. Why can't we all live together? Jake wants that too." I froze. What was she saying? Together? Doing what exactly? I looked at the bathroom door at my own pathetic reflection in the mirror, and then thought about the intimate scene on the sofa just moments ago. That suggestion, it felt like a bucket of filthy water thrown directly in my face. Without missing a beat, Jake immediately blamed me, claiming I was always tired and couldn't meet his every need. "Chloe can fill that void, and you'll still be my wife, Leo's mom. We can be a modern family, understand?" I couldn't believe the delusion of this man. He spoke as if he were bestowing a great favor upon me. Hearing that, all I wanted to do was strangle him on the spot. A modern family? A family where the husband is caught cheating with his wife's best friend, while the wife is struggling, battling the pain of losing a child and carrying the debt for this unemployed husband, and then the two of them propose a polyamorous relationship to the wife? Why didn't they just say they were hiring a maid? And then he added one more sentence, a statement that still hammers into my heart like a nail. "Chloe even gives better BJs than you do." That was it. That was the final kick, trampling everything that was left of me. Their brazenness had reached its absolute peak. In that moment, I felt utterly devoid of emotion. There was only emptiness and profound hatred left. I opened the door and walked out of the bathroom, not sparing those two a single glance. Like a robot, I continued straight into the bedroom, opened the closet, and hastily grabbed a few clothes and essential personal items. Leo was still sound asleep in his crib, thankfully too young to witness this disgusting scene. I didn't want to wake him, I just wanted to escape this hell immediately. I got into my car and drove. I had no idea where I was going, I just knew I had to leave. The night enveloped the city, but my mind was far darker. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. Unable to hold it in any longer, I burst into sobs. Tears streamed down my face, an endless flow. I drove and cried, crying for my fate, for what I had lost, for my own foolishness. Then I thought of Amber, my older sister. She's always been strong, sharp, and unafraid to confront anyone. Amber was the only person I trusted at that moment. I dialed her number, my voice breaking with tears. "Sis, I don't know what to do." I recounted everything through choking sobs. Amber listened in silence. Then I heard her voice, tight with fury, on the phone. She was absolutely enraged. "That bastard and that damn Chloe. Where are you? I'm coming to get you right now." About a half an hour later, I saw Amber's car pull up. She rushed out and hugged me tightly, just patting my back. Feeling her beside me, I felt the flicker of life return to me. Amber took me back to her place. The next morning, when she saw I was a little calmer, Amber told me, "All right, now is not the time for tears. We need to act. Do you have a joint bank account with him?" I nodded. And then the next shock hit. When I logged into the joint account, I saw it was overdrawn. Not only was our savings gone, not only was it in the red, but Jake had secretly taken out a huge loan. Loan documents and transaction statements flashed before my eyes. All of it signed under both our names. Piles of money had been spent on things I knew nothing about. Gambling, cryptocurrency, and expensive gifts that I'm certain he bought for that wretched Chloe. All the money I had painstakingly saved, every single penny to provide for my child, had been used to fund those bastards' lavish lifestyle and their betrayal. My sons and my future had been completely destroyed. I tremblingly handed the phone to Amber. Her face went pale. "Stay calm, Elara. We can't let this stand. You need to gather evidence. Anything. Texts, receipts, loan papers, pictures, everything." She was right. Amber was right. I had no more tears left to cry. My fight had just begun. All that remained within me now was fury and determination. But that night, my real hell truly began. Jake and Chloe, those two wretched people, wouldn't leave me alone for a minute. My phone vibrated nonstop. Texts flooded in, along with countless incessant calls. At first, they pretended to apologize, feigning remorse and claiming they knew they were wrong. It was absolutely sickening. When their fake apologies proved ineffective, they started turning the blame back on me. They accused me of not thinking of them, asking how I could abandon them, claiming they were lonely and sad without me. Chloe even dared to question why I was ruining everything, calling me backward for not accepting their grand idea of a modern family. Yes, they continued trying to persuade, even demand that I return and accept their repulsive THROUPLE proposal. I guess those freeloaders finally found a job selling snake oil. Did they think I was stupid? Everything will be fine. We'll be a happy family. To hell with your happiness. All I wanted to do was smash my phone. Every text, every call only fueled my absolute rage. But then, a call came that I never expected. It was Jake's mother. She called me. After all, I was her daughter-in-law, and she knew I was the one carrying this entire family. I thought for sure she'd found out and was calling to comfort me. But no. Just like her son, she simply dumped all the blame squarely on my shoulders. Elara, you're too busy. You're always so wrapped up in work. You don't have time for Jake. I was trembling with rage listening to her. No time? I was busy making money to support your unemployed son. I wanted to scream that, but I held back. She continued, her voice dripping with disappointment. You're making Jake unhappy. My boy, he needs attention. You don't know how to keep a husband. Do you see? All the blame was being dumped on me? What the hell was going on? What about me made Jake, a man over 30 years old, unhappy? He cheated. He lied to me. He destroyed our family, and now I'm to blame for not keeping my husband? Then she said the most disgusting thing. She told me to think carefully about my future and her precious grandson's future. You don't want to lose everything, do you? Think carefully. Hearing that subtly veiled threat, I knew this wasn't just Jake and Chloe's betrayal anymore. This was an entire toxic system that had nurtured and protected to create the wretched Jake of today. My blood boiled again. That was the final straw. I hung up the phone, my hand shaking uncontrollably. I was trembling with anger. Hatred swelled within me, threatening to explode.
Damn it, she just blamed everything on me, I shrieked at Amber.
Amber looked at me, her eyes sharp. She patted my shoulder.
Those bastards. I told you, just let them talk. I've recorded everything.
She was right. Amber is incredibly cautious. From the moment I told her what happened, she'd instructed me to record all calls from Jake, Chloe, or anyone else involved. Listening back to Jake's smug tone, Chloe's shameless words, and now Jake's mother's blatant blame, everything was even clearer now. Next, Amber turned on her computer, picked up her phone, and began to show them what was what. Every intimate photo of Chloe and Jake was extracted from the baby monitor cam. Every bank statement and receipt. The text messages between Jake and Chloe I'd found. And most importantly, all the spicy audio recordings Amber had captured. She compiled all of it into detailed emails and sent them to Jake's father and Chloe's family. After sending them, I felt an enormous weight lift off me. My body suddenly felt strangely light. Now, I wasn't the only one bearing this horrific truth. The families of those traitors would also have to face it. Especially Chloe's family. They are quite respectable people, and I knew Chloe had always been terrified of her parents. This is what your good daughter has done to her best friend and her family. I hope you will re-educate your child. That's what Amber wrote in the email to Chloe's family. I hope they find out what a wonderful friend their daughter has been. Just then, my mother arrived. She'd overheard parts of the story from Amber. She pulled me into a tight embrace. My daughter, you've sacrificed too much. Her voice choked. I've always worried about you. You threw yourself into work, into your family, to the point where I saw you wasting away. I knew you were exhausted, but never dared to complain. Her words, they touched the very wound I'd tried to bury for so long. The physical pain, the emotional agony, the loneliness I'd carried. My mother had seen it all, but I was too busy, too tired to recognize her concern. Tears flowed again, but this time they were tears of release, of being understood. I was no longer alone. Beyond that, Amber continued to be my guardian angel. She immediately set up an appointment with Mr. Jenkins, a seasoned lawyer known for handling complex divorce cases. After just a brief overview of my story, his expression grew serious. He stated that this wasn't just a simple infidelity case. This was a grave matter with clear elements of financial fraud and emotional abuse. The debt papers Jake had hidden from me, combined with their manipulative texts and recordings, all served as strong evidence. Mr. Jenkins advised me to act immediately. The first and most crucial step was to file for a temporary restraining order. Jake and Chloe would then be legally barred from contacting me, my son, or accessing any of our joint assets. He explained that this would protect me and Leo from any further harassment or manipulation from them. At the very least, I wouldn't have to live in constant fear of them suddenly showing up at my doorstep anymore. But that was just the beginning. Mr. Jenkins and Amber both agreed that for this story to truly have weight, and for Jake and Chloe to face fitting consequences, we needed to expose the entire truth. Hearing this, I initially hesitated. I'm a private person. How could I lay all these disgusting details bare for the world to see? But Amber looked at me, her gaze firm. Elara, this isn't just about you anymore. This is how you get justice, not just for yourself, but for anyone else who's been deceived like this.
So we got to work. I wrote down my entire story, every single detail, from the day I lost my twin, to my relentless struggle to earn money, to their manipulation and that repulsive THROUPLE proposal. We attached all the evidence and posted it on a private social media group where I knew many of my and Chloe's mutual friends were. Amber also helped me send a summary to close colleagues, those who had seen me exhausted from work. It was a difficult decision, but I knew I had to do it. This wasn't just about retaliation. This was about exposing their true colors, for everyone to see Jake and Chloe's cruelty and brazenness. This was the first price they had to pay. How did I feel then? It wasn't joy. It was a mixture of fury, relief, and a touch of fear. But I knew I had done the right thing. I was no longer the docile lamb being led astray. I had stood up. You're probably wondering how Jake and Chloe reacted when my story went public, aren't you? That price they paid, it was truly something to behold. I had braced myself for a battle, but what happened next was even more dramatic than I could have imagined. Jake, my wretched ex-husband, never had much besides me and Leo, but now he has officially lost everything. Not just me and our family, but even my best friend Chloe turned her back on him. Karma truly hit him hard. My story, complete with all the evidence, spread like wildfire through social media groups and among our mutual friends. Jake became a laughingstock, a cautionary tale for all who betray. Not only that, but the massive debt he'd hidden from me, it all exploded. He was unemployed, and without me there to shoulder those debts, it was inevitable. Creditors hounded Jake relentlessly. He faced serious legal problems, not just for the debt, but for financial fraud as well. I heard he's living like a ghost now, devastated, out of control. Just like those dramas I used to watch online, but this was my real life. Sometimes I hear news that he's barely surviving, pointed at and shunned wherever he goes. Serves him right. And Chloe, that little snake, also found herself completely abandoned by her friends. Everyone knew her true colors now. No job, no money, and now Jake had dumped her too. She probably thought she was snagging a sweet deal, but instead she just dragged herself into the mud. She tried to contact me several times. Her texts were tearful apologies claiming Jake had lured her in, swearing she was full of regret. Once she even called, her voice pathetic, wanting me to help her out, asking if I'd let her stay with me temporarily. Sorry I seduced your husband, but let me take advantage of you a little more, right? I know her type all too well. I will never forgive her. Never. I completely ignored her. I wouldn't listen, wouldn't read. She sowed the wind, and now she's reaping the whirlwind. And Jake's family and that deluded mother-in-law who thought I'd accept their disgusting throuple idea, now they're in shock and utterly disgraced. Their image of a respectable family is shattered. I heard they've turned their backs on Jake, refusing to even see him.
They might have even isolated themselves from society to avoid the gossip. They chose to stand by their son when he was wrong, and now they have to face the consequences of that choice.
I no longer feel heartbroken. Instead, there's a growing sense of justice being served. Even though I went through hell, at least the people who put me there are now paying the price. And this is just the beginning of that price. You see, Jake and Chloe paid the price. I won't say I'm gleeful about it, but at the very least, there's a sense that justice has partially been served. Now I'm focusing on what matters most, my life and my son's future. The divorce process wasn't easy, believe me. It took time, money, and a ton of energy. But with the unwavering support of Amber and Mr. Jenkins, I fought like a lioness. I protected every bit of the assets I'd worked so hard for, and most importantly, my son's rights. I wouldn't give Jake any chance to hurt Leo again. He lost everything, and that's the price he paid for his betrayal. Do you remember the tired, broken, weeping Elara from the beginning of this story? That woman is gone. Now I am no longer a victim. I am a strong, decisive, and resilient woman. I've learned so much from this shock. It was painful, yes, but it also taught me a lifelong lesson. I'm no longer afraid. I no longer fall for sweet talk. I've learned to protect myself, and most importantly, I've learned to love myself more. One morning, I stood before the mirror. For the first time in a very, very long time, I actually smiled at myself, a genuine smile, not one I forced to hide the pain. I looked into my own eyes and saw a glimmer of light. I knew it was the light of life, of hope, of a new beginning. I looked directly into my eyes in the mirror and said clearly every single word. They thought they destroyed me, but they only awakened a monster inside me, and that monster never gives up. The road ahead is still long, believe me. There will be days when I feel tired, times when I remember what happened, but I know I'll be okay. I've already survived hell. What else could possibly stop me now? I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you who have taken the time to listen to my story. Thank you for your empathy, for your support. I promise you, I will never let anyone hurt me again. I will live a life worthy of everything I've been through. This isn't the end of the story. This is just the beginning of my new life, and I will never look back. Thank you for listening to today's story from the Guilty Notes channel. If this story resonated with you, please like and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional real-life stories and valuable lessons. See you in the next video.